Okay, today we're going to have a little bit of fun, and I'm going to talk to you about 5 easy steps you can take to ruin your retirement. Coming up next. Now, what I'm really going to be focused on are some behaviors and some attitudes people take or fall into once they're retired, and it happens almost without you realizing it. So beware. I'm about to make fun of some people and some behaviors, and if you're one of these people, buckle up, Buttercup, because here we go. Now, the very first behavior we're going to talk about is how you get to retirement and you convince yourself all decisions are set in stone and are final. There are no returns or exchanges. This is completely and totally untrue. It doesn't matter if the decision you are considering is moving somewhere else, maybe downsizing, maybe decluttering a loved one's objects and things they had in their life. Whatever the decision is, there's no such thing as final. So many people get to the point that they stop making decisions in retirement. They are so afraid they're going to make the wrong decision, they make no decision. And while their life may not be horrible, it's not as great as it could be either. But they're too afraid to make a different decision. There is no such thing as a decision being irrevocable. Let's say you decide you want to move in with some of your kids and it's not really working. Guess what? You can change your mind. Let's say you decide to rent out a room in your house and it doesn't work out for you, or you decide it's not something you like. Guess what? You can change your mind. Let's say you want to have peas for dinner, but instead would rather have carrots. You can change your mind. There's no such thing as set in stone. Number 2, you limit your options. You all of a sudden decide, well, you don't have that many options. You can't go and do these things. You can't learn something new. You can't take a part-time or seasonal job. You convince yourself of all the things you can't do, the vast majority of which are not true. There is something about being in retirement that people get so used to doing things the way they've done them. They get so set in this habitual life, they convince themselves they can't break out of that. They can't go make new friends. They can't go to a new senior center. They can't do anything new, which is not true. The truth is they're habitual. They have allowed those habits to dictate their retirement. And so they miss out on a lot of things that could bring them incredible happiness. But they convince themselves they can't. And so they don't. And as time goes on, they convince themselves of more and more things they can't do and end up miserable. Number 3. And this is kind of a big one, and it really came up. The last video I did was on declutter grief, and a lot of people talked about grief and how it affected them. But number 3 is you convince yourself that you don't want to burden people by talking about what you think and how you feel. We all have loss in our lives. We all go through trying times. But somehow we convince ourselves that to share that with someone would be burdening them, burdening our friends, burdening our children. And so we only want to talk about happy things. Life isn't that way. And you might be surprised to find that the thoughts and emotions you're having in retirement, good and bad, are the same thoughts and emotions almost every other retiree has. And it's a relief to share those with someone. You might be shocked to share something you're going through, and all of a sudden all your friends have this flood of experiences that they can share with you now because they realize, okay, you're experiencing the same thing. Part of the value of being in a group of people that are of similar age is that you share a lot of life experiences, including retirement. A lot of those people are going to be sharing what you're going through. They're going to lose spouses. They're going to relocate to a different part of the country. They may have health challenges. We all go through these things at different times during retirement. Sharing them is not a burden on other people. It gives them the okay to then share things with you, similar experiences, and then everyone feels better. Number 4, never spending any money. And when I say any, I mean those people who are absolute misers. It's not that they don't have the money, but they convince themselves that spending even a little bit will cause them to run out of money in retirement, when it's not true. You have to, once you get to retirement, take a really realistic viewpoint of where you stand financially. There are many people who have spent 20, 30, 40 plus years saving for retirement, and somehow their mind never gets out of that saving mode, and they still feel like they can't spend it, even though retirement is what they save the money for. This is one of those areas where I really encourage people to talk to a good financial advisor, because you might be surprised, depending on how your investments are doing or how your cash is flowing from set retirement, if you have teacher retirement, government retirement, whatever, how much freedom you actually have to enjoy things in your life by spending a little bit of money. I'm not saying just go crazy and spend everything, but I am saying try to have a balanced approach. And it can be really hard if you're by yourself and you don't have a financial advisor for you to have a really objective viewpoint of where you stand financially and what you can spend without it causing you to run out of money. So be sure and get some good advice, and don't feel like you have to live like a miser during retirement and not ever enjoy things. You should enjoy things. You should spend money on things within reason. But just be sure you don't get into that mindset of living like a pauper when you don't really have to. And number 5, and if you're one of these people, I'm talking to you, that is to refuse to choose joy in retirement. There are so many people that get to retirement and all they want to do is focus on the negative happening with their neighbor, the negative happening with their children, the negative happening within their city. Anything that's negative, that's what they want to talk about. That will completely suck the joy out of your retirement. And all you have to do is choose joy. Choose not to focus on those things. Focus on things that really are positive to you. Whether that's getting out in nature, whether it's a new hobby, whether it's going shopping with your kids, whatever it is, focus on joy. Choosing a negative mindset is nothing but a bad habit. And those people who say, well, that's just the way I am, I'm calling you out. It's not just the way you are. It's the way you choose to be. And you can choose different. Now, if you've enjoyed this video, please click subscribe. And I'll see you next time.